always knew that it was a male-dominated practice. However, I've always been a radicalist, I guess you can say. Knowing who I am and going back to my uncles and my kuia karawa and asking them, why is it that women aren't able to carve? If I'm being honest with you, a lot of them didn't know. They just said that's just the way. That's a tikanga. That wasn't enough for me. And so I had to dive deep and unravel what is tikanga. Because for me, tikanga changes over time and the times have changed and we've got to adjust to that. I love telling people stories through videography, branding and logo design, graphic design, anything like that. And so when I look to whakairo, I enjoy the way that whakairo can uniquely tell stories, especially the stories of our tupuna, our myths, the stories that we hear through karakia that can be told within rako. Taking this kawairaupapa course allowed me to walk inside my wharenui and be like, oh, okay, so that's a story about Maui and Hinenui Te Pō. So that's what really pulled me into studying whakairo. I've had amazing support from tohunga whakairo artists, one being Kiritiro Tangata. He has always said that toi is a point. Toi is creativity. And individuals, whoever we are, we use different mediums to express that point, to express creativity. So whether you're expressing that creativity through videography or graphic design or whakairo, it doesn't really matter as long as you're expressing your creativity. And so he's been very, very supportive of all tauira that come through Te Wānanga Aotearoa, and especially wahine. I haven't had any pushback being a rangatahi Māori wahine in the space, and I think it's because of where I'm able to study at Te Wānanga Aotearoa. They are very open to whoever comes through the door. Whether you are not even Māori, they will take you as long as you're dedicated and willing to learn, then this is definitely a pathway for you.
It's not a thing that you have to be something or to put out something that needs to be heard. It's about being and feeling who you are inside. And our kaiako has nurtured that through all our tauira.
I wanted to create a tikanga paper that I could pass on to my sons and my daughter about how we were taught together kai when we were kids. I didn't want to lose that sort of research. I wanted to make it worthwhile, and then the only way to make it worthwhile was to put it in writing. But after my first paper, it sort of made me realise there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of mātauranga that's involved with what I'm doing. And then it sort of changed to creating a wānanga for people to learn how to gather kai. I think it's growing up knowing there was something missing in my life. I didn't speak Māori. I never took any Māori classes at high school. It had no point. There were no jobs when I was at school. My body is in a Western world where I have to pay my mortgage, I have to pay my bills, I have to pay my power bill. But my mindset over the last probably 3 years has been in a te ao Māori world. More caring about well-being of people, caring about other people more than myself. My rangahau might open a few eyes. It will give the opportunity for people that have always thought about gathering kai to, yeah, you can do it. I think it'll give people a different perspective of kai gatherers and the mana that's held on a marae with gathering kai. Like when we give seafood to our maraes or to our kaumātuas, it doesn't only uplift the person, but it uplifts the kai gatherer as well. Yeah, Te Wānanga Aotearoa filled that gap I was looking for. Knew little about education, and doing the Te Wānanga Aotearoa course, the level 1 and 2, has really made a massive difference. Then 3 and 4, then the diploma in Te Reo, and then onto this master's. I definitely recommend studying with Tawana and Aotearoa. They've changed my mindset. The first thing on your head, you know, is, Māori education. If you think about it from a Western colonised view, they've actually looked down upon. But if you get in the system, if you get in with the wānanga, your eyes will open up. The teachers I have for my master's degree are next level. They challenge you, they push you, they want you to be good. And this is what they've done for me.
Neither is wānanga in this case. And their kōwhao is the kaupapa, that's karanga. In the middle panga, middle whero, there are people. When you're in there, then ka mau ki te whakapono.
As a child, I spent a lot of time growing up with my grandparents, my mum's parents, living on the river, whitebaiting, duck shooting, eeling. Granddad always had, huge gardens and things like that. And some of my earliest memories are seeing whitebait swing in the river and harvesting freshwater coda, with my granddad. Beautiful memories. Love the taiao. And that, as an artist, has had a big influence on my practice. I draw a lot of my inspiration from the environment and all those different aspects that were quite influential for me as a child, and those memories with my nene and my koro and my mum and my dad. This piece is called Pipi, and it was inspired by a story my uncle told me about when they ate kaimoana. They all put their pipi shells in a big pile in one place, and the old people used to put their kai inside those big middens inside the pipi shell maunga. As the day progressed, the pipi shells were heated up by the sun and their kai would be cooked in there. And they come back at the end of the day and their kai was cooked. So that's the kōrero behind this piece. I know that a lot of people just look at a kōwhaiwhai and think that one is exactly the same as the other. Well, to me, it's not. So for me, if my processes are good, I know my mahi's going to turn out good. If I cross lines or cheat or don't do something the way that I would normally, that I should do, my mahi sometimes doesn't turn out the feel that it should be. So if my kaupapa is the taiao, I'll pick a specific mea from that taiao and I'll look for imagery to help my design processes. I create symbols specific to that mea. It's always stylised, kōwhaiwhai, kind of Māori motif. And then I just play with those images, the whole basic geometric concepts like translation, repetition, rotation, with the symbols that I create. I try and bring those layers that you can't see out. I try to, give visual representation to those things. One aspect would be to build on the mātauranga left by our tupuna and to add to that in a way that pays homage to, but also uplifts the mātauranga that our tupuna brought to life. I think artists in general, not just myself, are educators because we use our skills to inform, bring clarity to highlight concepts, to teach, but also to learn. I think I've been a practicing artist for over 20 years, but I'm still a baby, I'm still learning. I'm a tauira hard. He kaka no tonu ahau. Might seem a bit weird, but I talk to my mahi and my mahi talks back. I sing to my work. Sometimes I think it sings back, I don't know. And that, again, is part of my processes. If it's too serious, then it's just too much pressure, and I do it because I love it.
Initially, it was nerve-wracking, but my drive was my kayako. It was so inspiring to be under the kayako that I had. She made me feel very comfortable. She built my confidence up, which I was so thankful for.
I think I used to just love listening to the old stories and even about our tupuna and how we arrived here or how the kōrero behind our place names of our maunga, of our waterfalls. My creativity probably started there. So I was raised in a tiny little dot of a place called Okoroire at the bottom of the Kaimai Ranges in the Waikato. I lived there for 18 years and then moved to Otorohanga to come and do a raranga program in Waitomo. For our marae here in Marukopa, Miru Marae, we were asked if we wanted to adorn our wharetupuna with tukutuku. So that's pretty much what started off my whole journey, ngā mahi a te wharepura. So we're at a lake called Lake Huiputia in Otorohanga. It's a place where everybody can come to. It's a place where everybody can go to get harakeke. Finding something that I could do with my hands meant that I didn't have to talk. I felt quite out of place speaking te reo because I was quite shy. And so I could get that physical outlet through creation, through raranga or through weaving. My mum actually taught me how to weave when I was a kid for my teachers at school. She would send us up the cabbage trees at home in Okoroire on the farm and would eat the kai in the middle of the cabbage tree, but we used the leaves to weave with. That was the first time I really remember actually doing some raranga with my hands. So another way that we show respect is to use the dirt from underneath the rako to repatch the wounds so that it helps it to heal. Do you need to size down? The right. So is that right left? Yeah. There's, I suppose, two different processes that I go through. One is the creative process, which is the actual making and the tikanga and stuff that goes along with that. You're going to show me where... But then there's also the beforehand part, which is the conception of the ideas. If it's for somebody, I'll think about them, how I can incorporate them into the piece, what can represent them. A harakeke blade turned into a whenu, like a harakeke whenu, and then just gonna whakapa, which is make the incision. And about 1,000 of that. 1, 2, yeah, so that's one whenu. With the creative process stuff, we always start with karakia, prepping everything, getting it all ready, making sure we have enough, especially if we're making kaku. If it's going to be a big full-length kaku, I'll know I'll need about 90 ara. So I'll start working out how much time it's going to take and, yeah, breaking it all down like that kind of thing. When I really knew, I think, that I wanted to carry this on for a long, long time was the moment we named my first kapu, Te Pua Waitanga, and I named her that because I grew up a lot in those years. Being able to share it with people, being able to share it with your kids is one of the biggest joys I've ever had. It's such a hononga to so many different things. Maybe that would be the word, yeah.
Sweating.
It's not a thing that you have to be something or to put out something that needs to be heard. It's about being and feeling who you are inside. And our kaiako has nurtured that through all our tauira.
Yeah.
Where am I on today?
We had him up in Kaitaia, the Kaitaia line. Yeah. should get some funky heat again.
Ti hei mauri ora ki te whai au ki te ao marama e te iwi nui tonu. Piki mai kake mai, nau mai haere mai ki roto ki tēnei whare. Piki mai taku manu kake mai taku manu ki te taha o te wainui, ki te taha o te wairoa, ki te taha, ki te wai o Taringa e noho nei e whakapāhoa tino ki a koutou katoa. E te iwi, o Eli Smith taku ingoa, ko taku mahi tēnei rā, he tuku atu i te rākau kōrero, ki te pai kōrero, kua tae mai i tēnei rā. Ngā rangatira, ngā pūkenga, ngā wānanga, e aku rangatira tēnei te mihi nui atu ki a koutou katoa. E te iwi nui tonu, homa i te piki paki mō Taringa!
Ki o, whakarongo ki te tangi a te korimako. Kōrero flowing at the hooker force. Kaupapa relevant, kaupapa out of bounds, kaupapa exigent, kaupapa paramount. Nā ko nā whakapiri mai ki te kaupapa tino whakahira hira. Whakarongo pi kari mai, hare mai. O Taringa hare mai. We gotta gather up close everybody. Gather up close everybody. Kani move that body. Kani move that body.
taringa ki runga, taringa ki raro, taringa ki te whaiau ki te ao marama o tira, ki Ako Ararau, 2,2 te kaumā, taru! Anei rā tātou kua tae mai tēnā, ki a paki-paki i tā tātou kaupapa, nāna rā tātou i whakakotahi. Kia ora tātou! Ako Ararau! Kei konei taku hoa mauroa, taku brother, kingi tēnā koe i te pōwhiri kia tae mai a Taringa ki te tautoko i te kaupapa, kātahi ko te kaupapa, whakahihiri ngākau, whakahihiri wairua. It's just whakahihiri every single part of my body since I've been here.
Especially last night, eh?
Especially last night. Nō reira, brother, kei te hoa mauroa, ko te ngāka oroha tēnei kia koe, e mihi ake ana tēnā koe. O tira, ngā whakarite, te kuputapu i tuku nai i te atanei, tēnei ka tautoko. Anei mātou, te tīma o Taringa. Taringa ki mua, me Taringa ki muri. I'd like everyone to give a hand for our team in the back that make Taringa happen. Taringa mahara.
Make kōreko koutou.
That put up with me, because we do have a plan. And a lot of the time, you know, we do. We have planning sessions. I'll have everybody know. We'll get into that. And we'll have this plan, and yes, probably we're going to talk about this, and then we get there, and then I'm like, nah, I don't want to talk about that. So they make the magic happen. E mihi ana kia koutou hoa. And you know, he wā tōna, me rongo, ahakoa ko tātou, aku hoa. Me rongo hoki koutou e nei mihi I mua I te marea. Ka nui hoki te aroha kia koutou. And we've left the bustling metropolis of Taoniki today to come to this little town of Kirikiriroa.
The humble surroundings of...
Yes, the humble surroundings. Nō reira tēnei ka mihi ki a Ngāti Wairere, ki te hau kāinga, ki te tangata whenua o te Papanui, e mihi ake ana kia ora hui tātou katoa. Yes, and te māngai pāho kōrua ko irirangi te motu tēnā kōrua.
Tēnā kōrua.
Right!
Right.
Taria, welcome back!
Tēnā tātou. Good to be here.
Kia mihi ato tātou hoki.
Oh, riare. I was the last minute ringing yesterday morning. Ki mai a prāne, kare a kahurangi I te hara mai. Nā po I te noho ai me te tuku aku manako kia hiwa I te rangi. Kia hoki mai a kahurangi I te atane, engari anō tēnā iware ake. Engari e mihi ana. Kia tātou, ki tā tātou kaupapa anō hoki. Tēnā tātou.
E mihi ake ana Taria. E pono te kōrero, we had, was mātou ko rangi ko Che, nā mātou ngā kōrero I wāhi inanahi. Then we had the launch of te tautoru nui o Matariki. And I thought, man, kaurangi's not coming. And I thought, I'll ask you about it, hold it down. Came off the stage, walked up the aisle, and I thought, I need a tohu. And I saw the smiling face of Taria. And, you know, ki te ao Māori, nothing is a coincidence.
Kia ora.
So, e mihi ake ana kia koe Taria, I tautoko I te karanga. And you can get into later when we share about, our time in Taringa, how you got involved in Taringa. And we want to thank all of you. Tēnā rā koutou katoa. Those of you ngai Taringa who listen in from the beginning, if you've just jumped in, like Cherie Kora, who sidelined yesterday and said, oh my God, Taringa, I've just started listening to it. If you haven't started listening, e pai ana, we're not going to get feelings. But we do invite you to listen because Taringa is for you. So whakarongo mai, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you. Taringa wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you all. So give yourselves a paki-paki.
Thank you. Tēnā koutou.
Kia ora. Now, we're going to stick to the schedule. Ka whiua kia koe e tai, e mara. You come from te taumata.
Tēnā koe,
Kia koe tā tātou kiwaha.
Ai, tā tātou kiwaha I tēnei rā, tonu atu. Tonu atu. Immediately. Right now. So, ka tohu ki o koutou tamariki, kia hoki ki te moi. E koro, hoki ki te moi, tonu atu.
Oh.
Get to sleep immediately.
Bye.
Oh.
Ai. Hei te pōnei puta atu koutou tonua, koutou inu. E te hāweni, aku inu. Tonu atu. Garçon, my wine, immediately. So, tonu atu. Look for the context is in
and how you'd like to use that. But he mea māma tēnei, this is an easy one. It's a standalone, so it'd probably sit on the one of the Kiwaha Richter scale in terms of use and proficiency. So you can use it tonu atu. No reira, tēnā koutou. Whakamahia, tonu atu.
Tonu atu.
Tonu atu. I think we need to go down the line then. Everyone has.
Can we start at that end?
Yeah, over here. Because I did the mahi.
You
Ka tīmata ki a koe, tonu atu.
Okay. Like what you did there. All right, so when Maya messes up the lounge, like she does every day, can I be like, whakapaipai hea te rūma noho, tonu atu?
Kia ora.
Pai.
Yes.
Pēnei nana hinei, ka heke i te wakarererangi, me tai ki Ako Ararau tonu atu. Yep.
I don't know, ka kuhu mai tētai te whare, and you know, they've got the tau tiamu, and you say, and you say, pei, horoia o waiwai, tonu atu. Tonu atu. Now, actually, I'd probably go, get out. They wouldn't even make, if Ngāhuia was there, they wouldn't even make it in the whare. You know?
Ka tūkē ki te pau tāpata. Tonu atu.
Yeah, right. So kiwaha pai tērā, tonu atu. Did you pick that up at te taumata?
I may have picked it up at te taumata. Cool. So I heard that one out of te taumata o te taitokerau, kura reo te taitokerau, and I thought, yes, that's probably a good one to use. So tonu atu.
Ka pai, rau e tēnā koe e tai, e mara. Well, it's quite special i te rānei because we have tariao. And our kaupapa is, Matariki is going to frame some of our discussion today. Engari whakaro rāhau, part of Matariki is te huri tau, is to reflect. And even though this is koine te episode 296.
Something like that, yeah.
Woo. So we're 4 out from 300, but really, Matariki is our birthday.
Aye.
Because we launched Taringa i te wā o Matariki i ngā pōtangaroa in 2017. And the Braurangi, he was our first manuhiri.
Aye.
I used to have all these cool sound effects, if you remember.
Yeah,
and then
keyboard.
it got taken away from me, that machine.
Yeah,
I had and all these irawe. So, koenei hoki te huri tau o Matariki, o Taringa ko Matariki tonu, but next year we have our 300. So anyway, getting back to huri tau, I thought it would be great if we all had a reflection about your beginnings.
Tīmatanga.
Yeah, te tīmatanga. Ko te pū, ko te more, te ao te pō. Yeah. I roto e a Taringa. I will go over to you, Taringa.
Yeah, I think he's looking at you.
Yeah. Ki te hoki aku mahara ki te rawa, I think I'd not long come home out of school and then hunukau ki tā wāhi ka hoki mai ana ki Aotearoa mahi whai wāhi au ki te wānanga o Aotearoa. In the, I think we're on Rickett Road then I te rawa.
Yeah, Te Upiro.
Yeah, Te Upiro. And then, yeah, ka kuhu mai a Brownie Iona and had his big ideas and big kaupapa. And ka puta te kōrero I aia. I think this is how it goes. Mau koe, mau ahau e whakatika. So I wanted a podcast. And we're like, oh yeah, cool. What's a podcast? Yeah. Ahua hautonu te podcast I tēnā wā. And I think I might have only been the only kaimahi kōrero Māori pia I tērā wā. I roto I tō mātou tari. So same as yesterday morning, just the ring-in. And then whai wāhi atu ki te kaupapa. When you said, oh, we have planning days, I think we sat down and we planned out some different kaupapa and then for our podcast, ngā mea tuatahi. And then ka tai atu ki ngā kaupapa. And rēreke katoa ngā kaupapa I ngā mea I whakarite ai e tāua. But yeah, I rawe I tōna tīmatanga.
First episode, that was the E Te Whānau one, eh?
Yes. Kia ora e te whānau.
Kia ora e te whānau.
Yeah, mo taku he.
Yeah.
Yeah, first, was it still, yeah, it was kupu I mai te timatanga I whakatau koe nā ngā kaupapa e whā ka kōrero hi ai roto I ngā punua pāho. But yeah, I think that's
Kia ora.
koina.
Who had to write all the Once Upon a Timers back then. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we just like pull anybody in the building and whoever was in the building, you know, I think people that weren't even a part of the ipuro, if they happened to be in the building,
they just walked in,
Anei tō te wāhi ki a koe.
Ko tō hipa atu I te rumi, taua wā, ko tō Waimaria, ko tō Mote rānei.
Tika.
Yeah. Say, hey, come and read this. And they'll be reading it along, and next minute, they're on the Once Upon a Timer.
Yeah.
Even with the waiata as well.
Yeah, I remember when you would come around the office and like pull us all in to come and sing a song.
Half of us probably didn't even know the songs either.
No, we didn't. No.
Right before we had to record it.
I think if you listen to, those of you that listen to the One Upon a Time and Once Upon a Time, Maui, me on the tuakana, I think I was Maui.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other Maui has like Maui Taha, Maui Pai, Maui Roto, those were all the graphic designers
Yeah.
that happened to be in the building. It's like, right, you're in the kōrero.
There was this one of the Once Upon a Timers, I remember we all got pulled in to do some like background sounds, and so we were all like crowded around the one mic going,
It's like this
Now pant real fast.
And they're like, go for a walk around the building, come here.
Are they making a joke out of me? They're like, carry on, you're doing great. I'm like, so you better use this. It's better not be on the TikTok. Yeah.
Well, pewhia tōti matanga, how...
Oh, ka hoki aku mahara, and nā mōkena hau I tono mai. He said, oh, just come and sit in, and I think I was a pati pairehe. One of the earlier memories I remember. Well, it wasn't until about like 30, around the 30s, of episode count that I jumped in, and it took a while because you're sitting with someone who you look up to, and then there's praone, and then and so you're trying to like be cool, bro, be cool, say something profound, kia ora, and then you just listen to yourself. Oh, who is saying it's just kia ora? But it's those experiences, you get to start. It's the chemistry building. I think that's what I enjoyed in the relationship that naturally occurred. And getting to talk about whakaaro Māori and having little wānanga, live wānanga. So yous are actually in the wānanga. So while I'm dealing with something, yous are too. Those types of things. But that's what I remember enjoying the Once Upon a Timers, because you can be a neg and no one's going to see you. And you don't have to listen to yourself again until you hear yourself. You're like, oh, that's right, that was me. Yeah. But that's what I remember, my earliest memories of the Taringa.
Me koe tuahine?
Yeah, I think I've already spoken about this before on Taringa, but you came in to Te Apurau one day and you were away.
You were sitting behind the desk, eh?
Oh, I had that little office right next to the desk. Yeah, and you said hello, and then you were like, oh, want to come in for a kōrero? And I was like, okay. What do I have to do? I might not say anything, I don't know, but yep, okay. And then, that's when we had the hardest episode in the world.
That was Quentin.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Maharano. What number was it?
I think it was like 68.
68.
Yeah. And then, but it mustn't have been that bad, because then I'm still here. I must have contributed in some way, because here I am.
Well, I appreciate you all. And mihi nui ana ki a koutou katoa I whakai. Because it was a choice. You could have said no. And I would have said, you're not saying no to me.
We've tried.
But ka nui taku aroha ki a koutou katoa. And Erika, ko koe te reo o te hunga e whakarongo ana. You ask the questions, because a lot of the time we might get carried away in our wānanga, and you're very good at pulling us up in a nice way.
Yeah, I literally just met someone yesterday who was like, when are you coming back? Because I missed having that person go, hang on, can we just go back? And I was like, oh, good, because I'm glad that helps you in some way.
But I think that's part of the organic success of te kaupapa I roto I te whakeiti. You have different different understandings, not to say different types of outlooks towards the kaupapa. And it talks to the, like you said, what the people that are listening to it. So you are the voice of those people, yeah. Like, ka maharau ki tētahi, te kōrero tawa mo tētahi mea nei, kātahi ka pātai mai. Hea tēnei me te aha? And ko tawa ka ki, actually that's quite a good question there. Erica, that's going on. But pulling us up on those things, koina taku, mahara.
Yeah. I was very I te ata nei te wai o hoi au. Well, actually, before I went to sleep, I was thinking about te rānei and just grateful. So i te kāinga, we have mane manawa, or manawa mane. It's a grateful session we have every Monday. And kei konei a maua karanga tamariki, our nephews are here in the audience listening. And they were a part of our sharing what we're grateful for. So I was reflecting on what I'm grateful for in Taringa in Nepal. And the idea was born out of the whakaaro. I toko ake te whakaaro, ka pēwhea taku tiri, taku toha I ngā mātauranga ko ariro I au.
Kia ora. Kia ora.
Ne, so what was a way I could share the knowledge, and that knowledge doesn't belong to one person. We've heard Rangi say that, and we've quoted him. Knowledge isn't knowledge unless you share that knowledge. And I thought, man, how can I share all these things that's going on I roto oku whakaaro? And I saw there was a whole I roto I te pāpāho, I tērā ao. And I thought, well, podcasting wasn't sort of something. I know Shay Milne had a bit of a tutu, and others. So I actually did a bit of research, and I listened to some podcasts. And then I approached Mokena. And he had done some podcasts with, I think it was New Zealand Rugby Union, was it Mokena? Yep. And then he said to me, bro, just one thing. And I said, what? He goes, you ought to be consistent.
Kia ora.
Yeah.
Te au.
Yeah, that was the one thing. Me au te whakapāho. Ne? I was like, yeah, sweet. I can be consistent. But really, Taringa was based on, was their conversations. He kōrero rero e nei. And you have these, and you may have been privileged to sit with your nannies and koro. And uncles and aunties, you know. I'm very lucky how I was brought up and how I was nurtured in that environment, that I wasn't pushed out of the room when my nannies and kuia and koro, and I was nurtured in that environment. And everything was just a story to me. You know, I saw everything. Everyone says, how do you remember things? Well, I see everything as a story. I've always seen it like that. You know, and they're the conversations we have in cars. The wānanga you have, and watch the space, e te iwi. They're the conversations you have in cars. And I thought, man, I want to share that with te ao Māori and te ao. And so Taringa was born. And yeah, Mokena asked, I already had the name, it was Taringa. We've actually got another part, which one day we will get to, which is waha. Engari, koira Taringa. So I'm grateful for you all. I'm grateful for koutou Taringa, te tīma whānui o Taringa. E whakamānawa anau ki te hunga kāri konei. Ki aku kuia, ku kraua. Me te hunga kaua ko tōku iwi anake, engari te ao Māori I whai wāhi atu ai au I roto I ngā tau ka mahu e nei. Koe nei I taku ngā kau whakamānawa.
Tēnā pū, Paul.
Yep. Just a little bit of dust going around
at
the moment.
Well, you know, I au e hiki mai nei tāmaki tēnei rā tonu nei. Koina te whakaaro tuatahi toko ake nei I roto I au. And koina te Māori o te whakahaere, this is how random, or this is how Māori this happens. And ka hoki aku mahara ke te wharehuia. Pākau mai nei te kōrero I taua atara, Ana, ka waia mai nei koe ki au. Hey bro, I got a special request, and hare te me motu i tana kōrero mohi au. We're going to do a special taringa, and that's one of the memories I had. And ka hoki koutou ki te whakarongo ki tērā, ko te kōrero, ko te mihi, e waipuki te ana e te aroha. So, and for me, that sort of encapsulates the Wairoa Māori that's shown in taringa. And it was I remember it just being a really sincere time. Because ko tēnei nei, e hihi ana ki te whakaputa i tētai kōrero, e whakarangatira i tō tātou pāpā, te whare huia. So koina aku mahara, tūtai,
And yeah, and to grateful too, i a koe kōrana mō whare huia, e mihi ana ki te katoa o ngā manuhiri, kua tae mai i runga i te hiahia. Meki, he manaki i te karanga taringa. Kei konei koe MC Grandma. You're a huge part of the story of taringa. E mihi ake ana ki a koe, Eli, me tō whānau, our live stream up in te kōtiu, ki Kaitaia. And there may be some other manuhiri in the audience that we can't see at the moment. And of course, to all of you, our listeners, say, mihi ake ana ki a koutou, tēnā wiwita te katoa. So,
wait, before we go there.
Okay. See?
No, I just wanted to touch on how, you were talking about being grateful before that for us here, and that we could have said no. But really, I feel like, especially me, I'm grateful to have been given the opportunity by you. And you'd actually have to be crazy to say no to miss out on this opportunity. Because, I know I'm here for the ride, and me and Snowy were just saying before how, we're basically just here for the ride and trying to soak up all the knowledge you're willing to pass on. So, grateful for you.
Yeah. Tautoko ake ana i tēnā. I think I was 17. Ka pātai mai koe, I was like, who wants this rangatahi i runga i tēnei kaupapa ki tō tahe, engari nōku te Waimarie, ana nō tātou te Waimarie kua puta tēnei kaupapa ki te ao. So mihi ana.
Ai, ka raka piki kato nei aku mihi ki ngā mihi ko mihingia e tai. I have no hesitation in telling people the reason why I commit to this kaupapa is because of you. I te tonu taku kōrero pērā, he ihopu mano a koe kia hau? No reira, ana, ka hoki anō ki tērā kōrero a tāua i te tihima, ko tahi te karanga, kei a koe taku ki taringa. A lot of what I'm fortunate of and the experiences I've been able to experience is because of my association with you. Sometimes not a good association. Every akoranga he wheako. But ka reo he hena nei kia penei ngā kōrero ino. Wera kōrero.
Tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou. So the kōrero I want us to have is Matariki's framing the kōrero, and we sort of got into it a little bit yesterday. All right. Just doing this funny thing. How's
What's that over there?
What's it like? Maybe I should just take it off and hold it. And it's about, I'll do this. Do I look sophisticated if I... Yeah. And I have to sit here, because those of you that know me, if you know me, really, really know me, one, if I'm in a restaurant, I must see the door. Okay? Because I was brought up watching mafia movies. This is pono, ngā hui will vouch for this. So I've got to see the door. So when we go into a restaurant, that's one. Two, I also like zombie movies. Ne? So make sure that my park is somewhere where if there's a zombie apocalypse, I'm able to get out fast. You know? So I've got my plan if there's a zombie apocalypse that starts. And te mea tuatoru is I'm deaf in this year. So, hence everybody's on this side. When I told tētai wā I te noa I te taho Timoti, moe o kea Timoti, ko Timoti ka retu tēnei. Kei te kōrero mai, ko moe o kea, kei te te whahau. Turi. Anyway, kōrero ana ia, and I said, Papa, ware ia koe. Kei te turi he goes, God! Kua he koe? And I says, well, I whānau pēnei mai ahau? And he goes, well, I he tō mama. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes if you sit on this side and you haven't tapped me on the shoulder, I'm not going to hear anything you say. And it's not selective, okay? Anyway, the kōrero we got into, we touched on a little bit, and it's about how, and kei te nō kia Matariki. And Matariki's sort of opened up a whole lot of, actually it's shown to me a whole lot of jigsaw pieces we still need. Okay, so Matariki is only one part of it. And through the hui, tēnei hui, e kōrero nei, all of these sessions have been talking about jigsaw parts, pieces, o te ao Māori. And I see Taringa as servicing us in putting some of those pieces together in the wānanga we have, in the conversations you have, when you're listening, doing washing, ironing, in your car, whatever. You know, it invigorates thought. So when I was reflecting on the umukohuko whetū, the mahi that Rangi's done, and the revival of it, and the reclamation, really, of our part of our identity in terms of atuatanga Māori and our practices, I saw a whole lot of other jigsaw pieces. And that's why we're never going to run out of things to talk about on Taringa. Because I get asked this a lot of time, are you ever going to run out of things to talk about? No. As long as we keep thinking, tātou te ao Māori, we're not going to run out of things to talk about. Same with kiwaha. You know, the kiwaha conversation starters. When I go out I te motu people, I heard Taringa, or do you know this kiwaha? Aye. You know? And when you share the kiwaha and the kōrero. So anyway, thinking about Matariki, I was thinking, right, so we've got this, and it's a hybrid practice. I'll say it here. Aye. We recreated it, and we made it, sort of like, sounds like American, we made it ours. Because we took the tupuna knowing, and some might call it tupuna DNA, and you feel it in your ngākau when it's right. Ne? Tātou mane. So, you know, if you look at the ahi wasn't the only, and you know, there's something when you light a fire.
People just gravitate.
Yeah, ko te wairua ne, and I constantly think of my kuia taku tupuna, I aia e momi ana e tanahi ke reti, and she would just stare at the fire. And I would hear her talking. And she was talking to the people that are gone. Ne, but she'll be talking to the fire. Ne? And I'll be listening to her. Fire does that. And then, so we've got the fire in relation to our umukohukohu whetū. Now, if you do some rangahau, you'll see, now we've also have a fire, so, you know, nōku te waimare ahau I tono ahau e te puaheiri, māku tana tamaiti e tohi. Ne? And the ahi tapu is a part of that practice. It also has its name. I te atana e kōrero ana aku hoa mo te tāmoko. Ne? There's a practice of ahi in the application of tāmoko, and ngā hui is tupuna, and it's, her mum's here too, ngā kau. Some of our kaumatua shared what he would do with the ahi in his preparation to tāmoko. So we had an ahi for that. When ka whānau mai te tamaiti, there was a fire. Ne? So that's one part of the jigsaw puzzle. And then you look at ngā whetū. So we've got ururangi. Okay, it's the wind. Well, what sort of winds? Ne?
Yeah.
He aha ngā hau. In Hawaii, they've got like hundreds of names for the winds. We've got a couple. I te taitokera, you've got te kōtiu, koutou o ngai tūhoi. You've got te uru kārairai, te hau ōkiwa, and what's the third one? Ōkiwa's at Ruatoki, uru kārairai. Tūmata whero, you're here, what's the other one? Anyway. So you've got the winds, and then the same with the rain. You got a rain coming straight down. You got te ua titi pārera, te ua kua patapata, ua tātariki, you know. So there's all these jigsaw puzzles. Every time we, I'd say, unlock mātauranga Māori, and it's new, old knowledge.
Kia ora.
Ka pai? It's new, old knowledge. Ki au, e harai te mea kua ngaro, e rā mātauranga, it's just waiting for the right time for us to uncover that knowledge. Anyway, what I want to talk about is tapu.
Kia ora.
Ne? And I just want you all to have a little kōrero in the audience. I'm going to give you 1 minute with the person next to you. What is your experience of tapu? And we can have our little kōrero with ourselves. What's your experience of tapu since you were little? Do you know what tapu is? Do you have tapu in your life today? I'll give you 1 minute, go. Have a little wānanga. I'll have a drink. Drink. You too. Yeah.
So, our mic's off.
Oh,
So what about tapus?
Hey, do it to kai kona. Tēnā koutou katoa. So it was really cool to hear everybody having a bit of a kōwete-wete, ne? So he orite te kōwete-wete ki te kōrero-rero. Engari ko te kōwete-wete, there's a bit of or inquiry in there as well. Yeah. And you could be sort of sussing each other's kōrero out. There's sort of like a whakawhiti-whiti whakaaro, ne? So I rongo pai au I ngā kōwete-wete e haere ana. So, you know, what was your fellas kōwete-wete?
Oh,
you might have had an internal kōwete-wete.
Te tupuhi. Te pakikoki.
Well, I'll go first because I feel like mine will be super basic. So, yeah, my experience with tapu growing up was probably just hearing, like, you know, when I was in situations at the marae and that, all the older people going, don't do that, that's tapu. Don't go over there, that's tapu. And not knowing why, what they were even talking about. And then now as I'm older, I know that some of it's not actually tapu, it's just common sense. Yeah.
And now they see people like, girl, take my photo.
Yeah, pretty much. Now they got me doing tapu things.
Yeah, I got pēnei kia Erika. Like the kawe noho ki runga I te tepu. That's tapu. Me e rāhuatanga. And ko te kore hoki mōhio he hai pērā ai. Ia mātou I te kura, I te kāinga. But yeah, he kupu I karawhiu anō I hotia. Engari kaore kare au I tino mōhio hea te ito o tēnā. Yeah.
I tātou mohe ana ki tēnei āho o te tapu hungari ki te whakakupu I e rā mōhioranga he rereke. Ka kotahi tonu atu ki te tinana.
You're definitely winning.
Whakaaro ki te tinana. I think it's a good place to start for any of us that are just coming to understand tapu. The other thing I like, what you've mentioned in previous episodes, Ehua, is it's not black and white. Some of them can and others can't be, or it's you can't write a manual and go, this is the manual of tapu. Because ka rereke. So ko tahi atu whakaaro ki te tinana.
Kia ora. While Erika was talking, who sort of connected with what she was saying? Is that how you were brought up?
No.
So if you didn't know what tapu was. Hey, but I rongo I ngā kaumātua e kōrana mo te tapu. I'm looking at my nephews over here, and at that age, I know that we were talking about tapu, but we didn't know what it was. We'd say, you're going to get tapu?
Yeah.
Oh, that's tapu.
Tapu!
Yeah, tapu!
Tapu!
Yeah. And it's actually, koinei te kōrero, I kawe a hāretia e au I te kurereo I tērā wiki, koutou I taimai ki te kurereo o Raukawa. And I've been on a bit of a tapu buzz. And if you talk about tapu, you have to talk about noa and understand noa. Recently, Nahui and I privileged to travel with Te Papa, Karanga o Te Rua, and repatriate over 90 tūpuna and karapuna, so both tūpuna Māori and karapuna Moriori, from across 7 museums in Germany. Ka rongo ko I te tapu. So there's different types of tapu. There's the tapu of restriction, and I always talk about Auntie Pera, saying, he tapu tēnā, kawe hau tutu. That's a different tapu. That's saying, no, that belongs to me, you put a restriction on it. Then there's the intrinsic tapu, or the tapu take. Well, when we were in Tiamana, we saw how beautiful tapu or our understanding of tapu and noa is, and how it keeps us safe. Because Nahui and I, and our party actually, were able to leave it in that space and move on. Ne? And leave our tangi there, so we'd have our tangi, ngā karanga, ngā karakia mērā, we'd meet the tūpuna. I tūtaki mātou ki a ngai hore titi mā, ki a ngai hore tātā mā. Ne? I ki te mātou, I nā toimoko, I nā upoko tuhi. I requested that one of the museums we went to, they had held 3 toimoko. Ka pai, previously called moko mokai. And I like Derek's word, upoko tuhi.
Pai te upoko tuhi.
And I asked for them to be open. Ne? Now, some of you may have seen pictures of upoko tuhi or moko mokai. And the reason why I asked for those boxes to be open, it wasn't so we could see them. It was so they could hear us and they could see us. Ne? And I believe that. They were taken in 1820. Koe nā te ao o te tapu. Koe rā te mātotorutanga o te tapu, ko e rā tau, 1820. And when we saw them, I tangi mātou, I rere ngā karanga, I rere ngā karakia, and I rongo mātou I te wehi. Koe rā te tapu o tua whakarere. That's a tapu that really is self-explanatory, because it's te ao wairua that's speaking to you. You don't need somebody to say, well, I think you're feeling like this because of this. I think it's because you're looking at these 3 ancestors that are from a time they lived and breathed tapu. But when we finished our mahi, we were able to leave all of that in that space, go for our kai, ko puta ki te whai o ki te ao marama, and some of our hosts, and they were wonderful, they were still very toimaha. Ne? So they actually hadn't come out of that tapu. And I think we might have looked a bit bipolar to them.
That was me.
Well, that was
Cup of tea.
I'm sorry, maybe that's the wrong expression.
Yeah.
I don't want to offend anybody.
Well, how I pēnei ai koutou? You know, can you explain the distinction you might have made to go from that to that? I mean, you know,
it's kua tātou tikanga.
Yeah.
Kua tātou tikanga. And this is where I'm getting back to Matariki. Matariki and our practices consolidates our belief in our tikanga to govern and help us live. Koira te tikanga Māori. And I runga I te tikanga Māori ko te tapu. Ko te kaiwhakaui o tātou whakaaro ki a tātou tikanga ko te tapu. And this is why I believe some of our and you know, kei konei taku, I konei taku rua anuku, nāna te kōrero, ka takahia, ka whakamoia rānei ētahi tikanga, kia ora ētahi. And e pai tērā, but you need to know. Ne? You need to know. Because we've sort of put some of those tapu to rest, I think, e nōku e nei whakaaro, I think we don't, a lot of us don't have that wehi. Ne? And the wehi I'm talking about isn't to be afraid, it's rather to be respectful. Ne? Because people don't kare rongo I tētai utu because ko tapu te kaiwhiu I ona wā. And I like what Hirini and e harai au tēnei kōrero, nā totohunga nā Hirini mi tēnei kōrero I tētai hui, we were in whakatāne. And he said, beautiful, he said, ko te tapu te pirihi mana kāre kitea.
Pai tēnā.
Ne? So we all believe in this policeman we can't see. That's why we were like, when we know you're going to get tapu. Yeah. You're going to get handcuffed and taken to the hinaki. Ne? So it's this whakapono. So those were the measures. Koira te tukanga I whai ara e māua e mātou, and we could see. And we see it in all our tikanga. If you look hard, you'll see kei reira tātou tikanga ki te arataki a tātou. You know, how we move through tangihanga is a beautiful process. He taonga tuku I ho te tangihanga. And I feel sorry for people that haven't been brought up with tangihanga. And, you know, when we're going back to Te Amana, kāre he rarere kia mātou, even though these koi were over 200, 300 years old, it was just like e haere ana mātou ki te tuku aroha. Because we're brought up like that. Yeah. But all of those points in the tangihanga, they provide closure and levels and guidance, and they keep us safe. So coming back to Matariki, me te umukohukohu whetū, me ngā karakia, me te ahi, and the taiao. I don't even know if this is a word, but it's... Kei te whakatapu, no, kei te ka noho ki te reo Māori, kei te whakatapu anō I o tātou whakaaro ki tō tātou ao Māori.
Kia ora.
And that is something that collectively, myself, Rangi and others wanted to bring back because many people had been celebrating Matariki, but the tapu was missing.
Kia ora.
Koira te wā I ngaro ai, I roto I ngā mahi. Ne? We were doing our best. And what Rangi and others, me, Taringa has been a huge part of that, has provided some guidance. Ne? Engari he hoa te tapu. And I think we've done an episode on the demystification of tapu. But I think we're now tamariki, because I haven't heard that in a long time. I haven't heard tamariki e ata kōrero ana I wainganui arata, you're going to get tapu, that's tapu. I think that's a signal. Kia tātou o tēnei whakareanga, tēnā whakahokia mai e rā whakaakoranga ki roto I te, and make it digestible and contextualize it ki ngā uri whakatupu, because ki au, he oranga kei reira. I'm going to say this. I nānei, ko te mea nui, ko te
aroha.
Ne? Engari ki au, I nā oamua ko te mea nui ko te tapu.
Kia ora.
How I engage with you respectfully is because I acknowledge your tapu.
Kia ora.
Part and parcel of your tapu is your mana and your mauri. Ne? So it's another perspective using mātauranga Māori to look at, and even how we apply tapu. So, you know, at the moment, what's tapu for me is McDonald's, Burger King, bread, potatoes. Pono. You know, I went 2 months without bread and spuds.
Nice.
And on Monday night, we had burger and chips nights. But because I made it, I put that restriction on it, and I operated from a whakaaro Māori, and you know, fellas might want to try this. It may or may not work. But I te mei, whakatapu here oku whakaaro. And nā huana is at home, you know, I got a space where I do my tapu things. I te mei, whakatapu here oku whakaaro. No, karo I te kai tērā, I mau pūmau au ki tērā. So I think that's another way, you know, where we can use tapu, or where tapu can be applied. I shouldn't say use. I tēnei au huri nei. Yeah. And I think Matariki is a big part of that, the revival of tapu I roto I tēnei au huri. Yeah. Pepe o koe te whakaaro.
Mō tawa kōrero rā, e hoki aku mahara e tehi tau ki muri I a koe I te e whakatiki ana. I tito I a koe te tehi karakia mo te whakau I o whakaaro ki te whakatiki me te ahara. Koe rā te tehi o au tikanga ki te tiaki a koe anō I roto I era mahi. Ko te tito ko te ahara.
Ana.
Ai.
And ko te taki I te karakia ne, mā te kupu o whakaaro e whakau, e whakatinana ai koe I tāu e hihia nei. Yeah.
Just quickly on that, that example is, it's a daily thing that some of us, you know, wrestle with, but e ki te kia nau I te mātauranga Māori e arahi ana I tērā mahi. You know, and what that is, and the way it occurs to me, when you're talking about the way we make things, tapu is actually quite like a reverence, a reverence to something, and it's via your whakaaro and your subscription to tēnei mea te mātauranga Māori. That's where the driving force of tapu begins. That's why you can make things scary for people. Well, you know, this is a misuse of it. But then there's also times where you can use it in a way which is what you've talked about. And ki te pai anau, ki tau e kōrero nei, mo te whakatapu nei I etahi, wa I ngā whakaaro, pai tērā kōrero, te whakatapu nei I ngā whakaaro. What that is in English, iaua, he tapu tērā. Yeah. But yeah, kei reira katoa e whakaaro ana. And e tika tau, ko te tapu tētahi me e hanga ngaro ana. And I'm just realizing that now. Where we want things to be inclusive, but me au tonu nei te tapu. We can still have inclusion. But I think that there's times where tapu should be unapologetic. E ko tātou e huri ana I te tapu. Kau e whakaneke nei te tapu, kia haumai ai te katoa. E whakaaro ana tātou ki tērā. Pēnei e nei mahi nei o Matariki, I think it's brilliant that it's become present in the New Zealand consciousness. Hona ko tā tātou nei, he mauera, he whakatapu tātou I o tātou whakaaro Māori nei. Kia umai ai ki te whakaaro, ki te iho matua o Aotearoa I te iwi Māori. Ai, koina ko whakaaro.
Kia ora.
I'm still stuck on the toy moko bit.
Hey, it wasn't so long ago, I was still stuck on the zombies part. So, ki te kore koe I rungo I te zombie, tērā taha, kā koe?
I tēnei taha, that's why I keep looking over here.
Keep
going like that. That's my blind spot. Yeah. Now, who's got me? She's over there. She's got
the car ready?
So, you know how you guys asked to have 3 of them uncovered or opened up. Do you think you would have felt the same level of tapu and wehi had they not been uncovered?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even I au I pātai ai ki a te here kieke, I mui taku pātai I wānanga au. Ko taku wairua Pākiki tēnei, e hihe nei te kite I nā koraua nei. Ko te tikanga Māori rānei tēnei. Ka ta whakaara kao, ko te tikanga Māori tēnei. I rereke I nā kōiwi, I nā kōiwi tūpuna, he tūpuna tonu, engari ko ngā kanuhi tonu e nei, ko te upoko tēnei. Nō reira, I rongo au I a rātou, e mena kao, me kite mai rātou I a mātou. It wasn't so much that we got to see them, but they got to see us. Yeah.
And he quick check tērā ne, that was a quick vetting tō pātai ki a koe anō. Like, what am I doing this for?
Yeah.
You know, something it's easy to forget, but to always question, okay, what am I doing this? Ka hoki ki, you know, ki te take e mahi ana I koe I tētahi mahi. Kei taka ki te he.
Ana.
Te moko mokai, what had those been on display at the museum?
Or are they private?
I Muara.
Ah, okay, so they're just...
Yeah.
Okay.
Engari kua, you know, kua puta te tohu. Kei te muhiama, te tikanga, mehe mea ia ka whakai. Ki te... And the reason, I'm going to tell you all, because I said this at one of our panel discussions, I would not call those places whare pupuru taonga.
Kia ora.
Okay.
I would not give them the right to say that you, because I didn't give them the right to hold on to those taonga.
So whare whanako taonga.
It's a thief's.
It got kōra whare here I te papa, you know, but I didn't give them the right to hold on to my taonga.
A thief's sack.
Yeah, so I want, yeah. And you know, if you look at te take ngā mai o tērā kupu o te museum, no ngā koutou mohana ki ngā kōrero kiriki, if you look at Greek mythology, you have the muses, they're entertainment. It's entertainment. You've got music, amusement, you know, e rā kupu. And it was for entertainment. So Western peoples, cultures, could look at the curiosities of the world for their entertainment because they weren't able to travel. So I'm like, nah, I'm not going to call it a whare pupuru taonga, I'm going to call it a muhiama.
Muhiama.
Yeah. But nōku e rā whakaro. Yeah.
E whakaro kia ana kia tuku te wā ki o tātou hoa ko taimai nei, kia tuku mai etahi pātai, mena he kōrero anō.
Yeah, ka pai.
Ka pai tēnā.
An invitation to ask us some questions.
Patapatai.
Patapatai.
Any pātai?
Any pātai?
If you're going to ask me what my favourite mafia movie is, it's a close competition between Godfather and Goodfellas.
Yeah.
E tai pātai tika ngā tapu rānei mo te kaupapa.
He whakaaro rānei.
Oh, we got one over here. Yeah. Oh, where are we?
Yeah, kia mana ni.
Tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe.
Reflection time in the history of Taringa. Is there any episode or kaupapa that really jumps to the forefront of your whakaaro that challenged each other's whakaaro?
Great pātai.
Kōrero mai anō te pātai?
I puta mai tētahi, hea tētahi kaupapa I wero I o ake whakaaro.
Oh, yeah.
I think an episode that like we all came out of buzzing about was that Tiriti Waitangi one with Dale Takitimi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember after that, well, I was just grateful that because I organised her to come on, so I was like, thank goodness she was a good one. Yeah, and then, but we were all just like, afterwards, like buzzing, like had all these new thoughts and I don't know, felt a bit of like reinvigorated and I'm going to go spread my mana motuhake everywhere type of feeling. So that was a cool one for me.
Off the top of my head, To be honest, I don't like listening to the ones I'm on because
Neither do I.
Yeah.
I like to listen
I hear
to
it, I'm like, oh, good God. But yeah, tērā mea I whakarongo atu ki te tiriti o Waitangi I Rawe. And then just I think a few of the, not challenging, but grateful to be a part of the iwi o te wiki and getting to talk to the likes of Kahu and Kaurōpata. Yeah, there's heaps of kai kōrero.
Recently, for me, ko te mea hoturoa. If you listen to Hoturoa's one, ko te hano te taitara, I think it's about our waka traditions.
Aye.
So, koutou kaere no ke whakarongo ki tērā, listen to that one. Because it challenged, we sort of had a kōrero before that in Kawhia a couple of years ago. But after we had that kōrero, I thought, man, I've got to look at a whole lot of other kōrero tuku iho and apply that sort of same methodology in practical thinking pretty much. Like, really? Did they really do that? So that challenged my thinking, definitely. Te noho tahi o Hoturoa. When you're sitting with a practitioner as well, you know, kei te woki I te toki. You know, he's a tohunga. When you get someone of that caliber, and then he's saying, wait on, I think we need to rethink some of these kōrero tukuiho and kōrero atua. Yeah, so that definitely challenged my whakaaro.
I think it's something that we've been really careful and mindful of the way that we steer our conversation, and it's about kōrero, non-binary, e rā whakaaro katoa. Haere te mea ka tuki, but we always land on the whakaaro that we can't speak for that community, that whānau. And to ask someone to come on as a guest, I've concluded that that person will be only speaking on their behalf. So that's one kōrero. However, I know there's a big desire for the Māori lens to be applied to that. But it's finding the right people, having the right kōrero, so it's still open. Yeah, I think that's the first one that came to mind.
What I love is going out on about I te ao Māori and someone's listening to a taringa and they pull me up. I love that.
Yeah.
Because ko te ao Māori tērā. You know, or not pull me up, they go, hey, you know, such and such, one of your manihiri talked about this, but he or she left out this part. And that's been a kuaha to have a conversation with that person. You know, we've had a bit of a kōrero. So, yeah, that's sort of on the reverse to our listeners as well.
But what's some, you know, I misheard your pātai hua, but was there any time, can you remember any time where we were indifferent? You know, does it all...
Well, you wouldn't be on the show if they did.
Yeah, right. You know, that's what I think too.
Nah, I don't think so. I can't, you know... He wāte ana mātou ki te tuku o mātou whakaaro. I've never felt that, you know, I hinga pērā tētai, yeah.
Yeah. I think we're on a confirmed opinion basis.
Yeah. And, you know, ki te Māori, conflict is healthy.
Yeah.
Hey, to have a good conversation.
Healthy conflict is healthy.
Yes, you know, have a good conversation.
I corrected him.
Yes. Yes.
Gotta say, I'm challenged every episode.
Yeah. Challenged every episode.
Ron is always putting me on the spot. Yeah, I'm just challenged by all these new whakaaro, all the new stuff that I learn, and you guys get to hear it.
Cool. Oh, well, here's another challenge. E pātai anō.
Oh, yeah.
Tēnā koe whai.
Tēnā koutou, nui rawa ngā mihi kia ki nai Taringa o koutou koha, o koutou taonga I koha atu mātou te Aotearoa, te Aoturoa hoki.
Tēnā koe.
Nui rawa te mihi. My question is, you talked earlier about putting together puzzles for te ao Māori. Is there any part of the puzzle that's missing at the top of your checklist? What would that piece be?
We actually hired that person for that actual kōrero. Tēnā koe te whai tō pātai mai. Tēnei.
Well, I tēnei wānei, and you know, kei konei taku wahine, she's been listening to me talking about tapu for about a month now. Ki au, koira tētahi wāhanga kei te ngaro. Ne? Our understanding of it and our perception of it. And our application of tapu and our belief in tapu and our existence in tapu. And the reason, and tēnā koe mihi mai nei kia mātou, and for instance, tētai wānanga I reirau, ka mihi au kia Ngāti Hine, nāna tētahi hui I whakakao. A miki, e mahi anau etahi mahi mā te tribunara, and we're doing an inquiry into tikanga Māori, or lack of in the justice system. Anyway, we were at Otiria, and that's beautiful, ka tū tētai kuia, and she just hit the nail on the head, and this is when this jigsaw puzzle showed itself to me. And she said, and I'll get Te Puaheri to translate this into English. Ko tana kōrero, because we said, oh, why do people do these things to each other? And why do we not look after each other? And, you know, why have we gone this way? Where's this collective consciousness that we had? And koe rā no tētahi āhuatanga o te tikanga Māori is collective consciousness. And ka me ka tū tētai kuie, and she gave a beautiful answer. She said, ki te kore te tangata e mōhio ki tōna anō tapu, me pewhe ia e mōhio ki te tiaki I te tapu o tētahi atu.
Kia ora.
Beauty, eh?
Beauty.
You know, I could have pinched that and said I made it up. No. Nā te kuia tērā kōrero. When she said that, I thought, koe rā tētai o. So for me, koe nā tētahi o ngā jigsaw puzzles I tēnei wā, e titiro anau. Because we grapple with it. Even aku pauako. Mātou. E tātou te ao Māori. You know, and I've learnt about the intrinsic tapu and the teeth that have been taken e rā kōrero katoa. So ki au, koe rā, that's my jigsaw piece at the moment. Yeah.
But very true, well, how can one...
Yes, and anyway, here comes the translation.
Kōrero mai no? Oh.
Ki te kore te tangata e mōhio ki tōna anō tapu, ne, me pewhe ia e tiaki I te tapu o tētahi atu.
If one has no understanding of their own sanctity, how can they look at the sanctity of another?
Yeah.
Sanctity?
Sanctity.
Flash.
Yeah.
Nah. Aye.
Yeah. Ka pai. And even that word, and e mihi anau ki tō whaka even the word sanctity, when I hear sanctity, I think one thing. Whereas when I hear tapu, I think a whole lot of things. Much like all the discussions you had here. Everybody would have, in each row, in each kōrero, would have said something different. That's all within tapu. And koe rā te rereke, because tapu is not only sanctity.
Kia ora.
Ne? Koe nā tētai o ngā aho, o te tapu aho nui, ne?
Koe rā te tapu o taua kōrero, o taua kupu.
Yeah.
E reke te tapu o te sanctity.
Yeah. And I attest and that kupu was taken from us and our cousins from across te moana nui a Kiwa and bastardized and called taboo.
Kia ora.
I ngaro te tapu o te kupu. Yeah. Anyway, that's my jigsaw piece.
Ka mātua I tēnā.
There was a classic Taringa line.
Yes. Yeah.
One jigsaw piece quickly, it's at the top of my mind, is te ako te reo. Not just learning te reo Māori, but going through layers that have our whānau permit themselves, forgive themselves, and allow themselves to learn te reo Māori. If it was that easy, kare he take mo tēnei hui.
Tika.
Kua, you know, we would make it in cans and sell it. But that's one, you know, But that's one part that it's probably, it's always something that reoccurs with me, because noho anau ki tētahi whānau, tātou katoa, e tahi o tātou whānau, e pērā ana. So that's one jigsaw piece that, you get a piece, you get the corners, yeah, me. And then there's this part that's like a shade of this and that. And it's like, oh, yep, where does that go? Where does that go? What parts need to fit with it for it to fit in the big picture? So, yeah, how our whānau, how do I frame that? Well, it was recorded, you can play it again. Yeah. But, layers, our people we have layers. We have layers and we go through it every day. Some of our people, it's we call it, symptoms of trauma. Ka hohonu ake I tērā hoino. It's those parts. How can we, once again, forgive ourselves, permit ourselves, and then allow ourselves to go through learning our language. Because, ko te mea te whakamate mea nui. It could have been from the way we were schooled. If you get it wrong, oh man, may you burn in hell. Little things. Or maybe you be cast aside by your own peers. All those things. Self-preservation. Yeah. We go through things of self-preservation. That's why 2x alpha sitting, and x alpha standing, 10 upward. Self-preservation. So, but then there are bigger things of that. That we're always looking at ourselves and judging ourselves. Oh, was that right? All those things. So that's one piece for me. That's a piece.
So how I can connect my jigsaw puzzle in the mentality and psychology of somebody who has, it's a self-infliction of tapu.
Kia ora.
So now they've actually made it tapu for them to learn te reo because they had this experience. Ne? But if they had the tools to learn into a space of noa, ne, and leave that in that space, respect for what happened, then perhaps maybe they could move on. So that's where I can see how tapu and noa can be applied. And it's a new way of thinking about tapu and noa, instead of just washing your hands. Hey, not just washing your hands, but that may be our only whakaro of what whakanoa is.
Aye.
Yeah, and we'll say whakanoa for the next episode.
Yeah. But I just want to quickly say, when you were saying that, ka hoki aku whakaro kia koutou e tangi ana I ngā tupuna, tangi ka mutu kaunei ngā te tangi, ngā mihi, ngā poroporo aki, ka whakawhiti.
Yeah.
That was a visual for me, just then you were saying that. You can leave it there, acknowledge it, tangi. Right, leave it there, puta mai ki te ao marama. Easier said than done, but aini pia koera te whakaro.
Yeah, ka pai. Well, tēnā tātou katoa e te iwi e te whānau. We're going to launch into our waiata o te wiki. We're coming up to time. And we're going to ask everybody ki te tautoko mai a mātou. We're going to finish with whakarongo. Composed by Ngoi Pewhairangi. Here, and I know we haven't done a live whakarongo though, and was actually composed at a hui, I think it was a hui kohanga reo, at Tūranga Waiwai. Yeah. And because Noi was the big noise in the group that composed it, nōna te ingoa ka maharatia, nō reira ka mihi kia Ngoi, ana kia tū tātou ki te waiata whakarongo. Tareo can start us?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
E kupu tuku iho mo tēnei rea mā. Whakarongo ki te reo Māori e karanga nei. Ki te taringa. Whakarongo ki ngā akora maranga tira. Nā te atua ki tuku iho kia tāna le.
ora koutou tātou katoa.
Kia ora tātou e te whānau. I nua i tā koutou wehe i te atamira i a kurangatira. Tuatahi ake. E mihi ana